Hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Anne and today I'm going to give you my TBR for the Magical Readathon N.E.W.Ts edition, hence the hat. So for those of you who don't know, the Magical Readathon is an amazingly detailed readathon inspired by the Harry Potter universe, and it's organized by G from Book Roast. In April we had the Owls edition, when we had to sit for our Owls or ordinary wizarding levels. There were prompts for all 12 of the subjects you can take at Hogwarts. For example, the prompt for History of Magic was to read a book that was published over 10 years ago. Now the idea for the N.E.W.Ts edition, which is happening in August, is that you can only continue the subjects that you passed for your Owls in April. And this time things get a bit more difficult or challenging because there are 3 levels to each subject. Instead of just passing, you can get an A for acceptable, an E for exceeds expectations, and an O for outstanding. So to get an O in a certain subject, you will need to read 3 books, and each of the levels of that subject will have a different prompt attached to them. G has also set up an entire system of careers for this year, which means that if you want to be able to make it in a certain career, you will have to have the qualifications for that career. So you'll have to have a certain number of Owls and a certain number of N.E.W.Ts, and specific Owls and N.E.W.Ts. I have chosen to go for the Librarian career, and I will go through the prompts and the books I've chosen for those prompts with you now. I do have to say beforehand that I have picked multiple books for most of the prompts, so that I have a bit of choice during the month, because I have been in a bit of a reading slump this past week and a half. I'm filming this on Sunday the 21st and I haven't read anything in a week and a half, which for me is not normal. So in August I don't want to make things too difficult for myself, and I want to have a couple of options for these prompts so I can just read what I'm in the mood for. Anyway, let's get into my TBR. To qualify for the Librarian career, I'll need to read 7 books in total, because I need an outstanding in Ancient Runes, an exceeds expectations in Defense Against the Dark Arts, and an exceeds expectations in History of Magic. So yeah, that's 7 books, which is a little more than I usually read in a month, but I guess that makes it challenging as well. So let's get into my stack of books. So Ancient Runes, the first prompt for this subject is to read a book that was recommended to you by a friend, and I have 2 options for this. The first one is a Dutch book that my boyfriend has recommended to me, and that is Welkom in het Rijk der Zieken by Hannah Barefoots. Wow, it's weird to speak Dutch all of a sudden. This book is about a chronically ill man who suddenly finds himself in a kind of strange parallel world or universe, I guess, which is called the Realm of the Ill. I don't usually read Dutch much because I just enjoy it a lot less than English, but my boyfriend thought I might like this, and I have read a couple of pages and it seemed like something I would enjoy. So this is one of my 2 options. The other option I have for this prompt is The Buried Giant by Kazuo Ishiguro. I've never read anything by Ishiguro, and I've wanted to do so for a while now because I've heard good things. And my best friend recommended this one to me because apparently it's about Arthurian legend, which is something I'm really interested in. So this might be fun to pick up as well in August, depending on what I'm in the mood for. The second prompt for Ancient Runes is to read a book written in the past tense. And this was actually a lot harder than I thought. I thought most books were written in the past tense, but a lot of the books I have on my TBR are written in the present tense. So that was interesting to find out. So for this one I have 3 options because I really don't know what I will feel like reading for this one, and I've also picked one very short option because, like I said, 7 books is more than I usually read. First up I have Anne of Green Gables by L.M. Montgomery. I've never read this, but I've been wanting to read it for a while now, and I bought it a few weeks or maybe even a few months ago, so this might be a good time to read it. Then I have Holding by Graham Norton. I bought this book in Dublin almost 2 years ago because I love Graham Norton and I had actually heard good things about his first novel. I believe this is a mystery thriller type thing, so it might be fun to read something like that, because I don't read many thrillers or mystery books, but I do really enjoy them, so it might make for a nice variation on my TBR. And then lastly I've got The Custard Heart by Dorothy Parker. This is one of those small books Penguin have been releasing. You've got the Little Black Classics, and this is one of the Penguin Modern series. And this might be good to read if I don't have that much time left. And I've had this one on my shelves for quite some time now. I really want to pick it up, but for some reason I don't really pick up these really small books for anything but a readathon. I think they just don't spring to mind when I'm about to pick out a new book to read. So readathons are a great opportunity for me to read these little books. Then the last prompt for Ancient Runes, which is the prompt I will need to get an outstanding, is to read a book that has been on your TBR for ages. And for that I've picked out Watchmen by Alan Moore and Dave Gibbons. This book has been on my TBR for years and years, and I genuinely forgot about it. My boyfriend told me about this book, I think a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago, and I thought I'd never heard of it, but then I looked it up on Goodreads and apparently it was on my Goodreads TBR, so I did know about it, but I just forgot about it apparently. But it seems really interesting and I've been wanting to read it for quite some time now, so this seems like the right time to get to it. It's also a graphic novel, which again will make for some nice variation during this quite challenging readathon. Next up is Defense Against the Dark Arts, and I'll need to read 2 books to get an Exceeds expectation for this one. And the first prompt is to read a book that's black under the dust jacket, and for that I've chosen I'll Be There For You by Kelsey Miller. I don't own a lot of hardbacks, so I didn't have much choice for this, and this is the only book that's black under the dust jacket that I haven't read yet and really want to read quite soon. This is a non-fiction book about Friends, which is a show that has a special place in my heart. I got the DVDs for my birthday at some point, and then I just watched these episodes every single day after I got home from school before I did my homework. I have grown a little more critical of the show in recent years, but yeah, like I said, it still has a special place in my heart, so I'm interested to read this book, which has essays, I think, on Friends and just recounts what happened at that time and how everything came to be. The second prompt for Defense Against the Dark Arts is a little different. It's a book on your TBR that you remember just now. So that means you pick the first book on your TBR that you think of. And I'm not good with these type of things. I overthink everything, so this is one of those things I overthink as well. And I just no longer know what book I thought of first, so I'll just have 2 options for this as well. It will be either Dear Martin by Nick Stone or History Is All You Left Me by Adam Silvera. We'll see which one I feel like picking up when I get to this prompt. So, on to History of Magic. For this one I need an Exceeds expectations as well, so I'll have to read 2 books for this as well. The first prompt is pretty simple and straightforward, and it's read a fantasy book. I'm either going to read The Scorpio Races by Maggie Stiefvater, or I'm going to do a reread of Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, reading the illustrated edition for the first time. It does fit really well with the readathon, of course, but I also want to read The Scorpio Races, so we'll just see what works at that moment. And the last book on my TBR, also for History of Magic, needs to be a book that has a map in it. And for this I plan on reading Siege and Storm by Leigh Bardugo. This is the second book in the Grisha trilogy, and I haven't actually read the first book yet, but I plan on doing so next week during the reading rush. So hopefully I'll like that, and I will be excited to move on to Siege and Storm, because I think this is one of the only books I have left on my TBR that has a map in it. There's also still The Two Towers, but I think that book is just a little too difficult to get through for a readathon in which I need to read 7 books. So yeah, this one, hopefully. And that's my TBR. Lots of books to choose from, lots of books to read to get to my goal. But I'm really excited for this readathon. The Magical Readathon is so detailed and so many people participate in it, and it's a lot of fun on Twitter as well, and just to chat with other people who are excited about reading during this month. But first, like I said, I will be doing the reading rush, and I will also be vlogging that. It will be my very first reading vlog, so depending on how that goes, I might also do reading vlogs for the Magical Readathon, but we'll just see how the reading rush goes first. Anyway, let me know if you're planning on participating in the Magical Readathon as well. What's the career you're planning to go for during the N.E.W.Ts, and which books have you chosen, and are you excited to read them? Please let me know in the comments, I'd love to chat about it. Like this video if you liked it, and please subscribe if you want to see more of me. Have a wonderful day, and thanks so much for watching. Bye!